welcome to another episode of KO Poetry. I'm really excited to share today's poem with you. It's another one taken from my book, Transform, and this one was written on April 16th, 2020. This poem is really closely linked to a piano piece I wrote called Praise, Endless Praise. Praise, Endless Praise is the final movement in my piano album, Expressions in Waiting. So April 16th, 2020, I just pulled an all-nighter composing this piano piece after years of being in writer's block over it. And the sun is literally just peeking up over the horizon outside my window. And I'm going in to do my final listen test. And this is kind of how I decide if a composition is ready. I go into my room, I turn off all the lights, put on some really nice headphones, close my eyes, and just totally submerge myself in the composition. So I was going through that, and I get around the middle section, and it's leading up to this big crescendo, and as I listen, I just had these images coming through my mind. I'm entering into this great hall. Endless ceilings, masterfully carved, pillars and archways, just ornate and beautiful, and people all over gathered and just joyous and dancing and talking together and dressed in just brilliant attire. And I'm walking through all of this, just observing everything and taking it in. And I remember feeling so small and just like overwhelmed to be there and to be a part of all of this. Then I come to this great table. It's like this long, endless table. And people are gathered all around it having this magnificent, bountiful feast. And everyone's just so merry and laughing and in total unity. And then this procession of angels come in, so elegant, and it like they're there to declare something, and everyone's watching with such excitement. And the next thing you know, everybody's getting up and dancing, and this whole celebration breaks out. And before I know it, I'm being swept off my feet to join in the dancing. And for me, it was as if the Lord was drawing me out, saying, "Come, dance with me." Then the music comes to a calm, and I walk outside to this balcony, kind of viewing from the outside this divine celebration that's happening. And I'm just taking a moment to breathe in the awe and the absolute peace. As I do that, I'm hit with this feeling of at last. And that imagery is what I was trying to retell through this poem. So let's go ahead and read the poem. Oh, how I long for the day before your table I'll be, where pure light shines like diamonds as we sit for the marriage feast. Procession of angels draped in gold, lifting praise to God on high. Swirling colors flood my eyes as we dance the greatest dance of my life. Regal music commands the atmosphere. In total peace we wander outside. Holy light glows as we gaze in awe. Jesus Christ, the groom with his bride. So breaking it down, form-wise, it's pretty simple, 4-line rhyming scheme of A, B, C, B. And there are 3 sets of rhymes found between lines 2 and 4, 6 and 8, and 10 and 11. And I could have broken it into 3 different stanzas on the page, but just as the visual that I had listening to the music really just flowed as one experience, I wanted to repeat that with the poetry and just kind of keeping it all as one unit flowing from one thing to the next. So there's not a whole lot more to go over with the form, but I kind of broke it down into 4 themes that I wanted to focus in on. Light, unity and union. I don't know if my kitten's tail is in the shot. Royalty and celebration. In lines 3 and 11, the light here is invoking a sense of awe. And what does light do? It reveals. Here in this place, the light shines so bright, brighter than any, as it's being revealed to us, the true presence of God and the design of true unity with Him and with each other. And there's no darkness in this place and no evil, which brings a sense of freedom. When you're in the dark and trying to walk around, it's kind of tense, right? You're straining your eyes to see. You've got your hands out, you're cautiously walking, just trying to make sure you're not going to bump into anything. But as soon as the lights turn up, suddenly you can walk with ease. You don't have to think about it. You see the path and you go. You easily avoid any obstacles along the way. And it's this sense of freedom. And so it is in this grand hall. There's no more worry or fear or hiding, just freedom and total acceptance in the purifying and unifying light of God's presence. Continuing on that thought of unity, lines 2 and 4 introduce the imagery of being gathered together around this table, eating an amazing meal. For me, some of my best memories come from being around the table with my family. It's not only the place where everyone stops what they're doing to gather around and eat a meal, but it's where laughter abounds and stories are told and tears are shed. It's where news is shared, whether good or bad. This space where you just feel safe and welcomed, and a community that spends time around the table. They produce intimacy and just a genuine vulnerability with one another. It's such a beautiful thing to experience. And what I love about God's table is that there will be people of all tribes and nations and walks of life sitting together in this genuine communion. Jesus showed us examples of this even in his time on earth. He was so often accused and ridiculed for being at the table with tax collectors and sinners, people the religious leaders looked down upon and saw as unclean. He spent time with those who were crippled and sick. He treated women with respect, and he highly regarded children, all things that at that time were so far from the cultural norm. And in Luke 14, Jesus tells this parable of a man who throws a great banquet, and he invites all his friends and family and neighbors, and he prepares this incredible feast, and when everything's finally ready, he sends out to the guests, and he's like, okay, it's ready, come on. And they just send back these really insincere excuses. And he's like, okay, well, I have all of this food prepared and everything's ready. Like, go out into the streets, bring in the homeless and the sick and the broken, those who are cast out and oppressed. Like, those are the people who he brought in. He wanted to fill that place. And they ate and they celebrated. And the parable is saying, look at all the people who were invited, but they rejected this invitation. They missed out on this incredible banquet, but those who by society's standards would never be invited, he has extended that invitation for them to come and to take part in this amazing feast. Going from that sense of unity into this idea of royalty, like he brought up these people from the street into this place where the more wealthy were invited, but now suddenly you see these other people brought into this space. So let's talk about royalty. In lines 5 and 9, we have imagery of this procession of angels, and they're draped in gold, and regal music, commanding the atmosphere. It just creates this rich imagery, and this is all happening in this holy light, that we see in line 11. And it's just pointing to this sense of greatness and nobility. And also just the idea of a wedding in general invokes this idea of royalty, because think of a wedding. Everyone's wearing their best dress. There's just incredible ornate decorations, fine dining, great wine. Everything's top-notch and elegant. And I wanted to create this sense of royalty in the poem. And I think that's because, for one, Jesus is the king. He's the King of Kings. He is Lord. And God is the all-authoritative being, which itself just points to the sense of sovereignty. But also, when we place our faith in Jesus and commit to following him, we are told that we become heirs with Christ. We see that in Galatians 4, 6 through 7, and Romans 8, 16 through 17 as well. And so not only are we witnessing this royalty, but we are actually now partaking in it. We are sharing in it as sons and daughters of God. It now belongs to us as well. Pretty neat! And hence, celebration as the next theme. It's this amazing celebration taking place. This freedom to dance and eat and be gathered together as one family. A wedding is meant to celebrate the union of two people who love each other and who have committed to one another and decided to selflessly give themselves to one another. In the Bible, the relationship of Jesus to the church is so often referred to as a marriage. Jesus is the groom and the church is the bride, hence the final line in the poem. But the church not being, buildings, but people, those of us who have placed our faith in him, we are the church. It's meant to be a body of believers. And I was listening to a sermon the other day, and they were going with the wedding metaphor between Jesus and the church. And they were saying how, in a way, the cross was Jesus's proposal to all of mankind. And I really love that because it's just the most selfless act that could ever be done. Such a display of unconditional love. God was so committed to us that even in the midst of rejection, he endured it, knowing the joy of the wedding feast on the other side, knowing that because of his sacrifice and ultimate victory over death, we too would be able to sit at the table with him. Like, without that, this world that I'm describing, it doesn't exist. This freedom and community and party of all parties, it does not happen. I believe that this feast will one day take place, and the invitation stands today. When we believe in Jesus, he forgives us and offers us everlasting life, and we share in his inheritance for all of eternity. You don't have to earn your way into the party, but only accept the invitation in faith to come and know and follow Jesus. It's gonna be awesome. I'm stoked. I'm really stoked for it. I really love this poem, and it has a really deep meaning to me, and I hope you enjoyed hearing that today. And you can find this poem along with many more in my book Transform. I will put the link in the description, as well as the link to my piano album Expressions in Waiting. That is all for now. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a great day, and may you know just how loved you are and that there is always hope. This has been KO, here with you to create eternal perspective. And see you!